41 games are in the rearview mirror for the Pittsburgh Penguins, which means we are officially at the midpoint of the season. So, who's doing well? Who's doing poorly? Let's do some midterm grades here on the Locked On Penguins podcast.
Your Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to another edition of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am one of your hosts, Patrick Damp. You can follow me across all social media platforms at synonym for wet. Joined as always by the one and only Hunter Hodes. You can follow him on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can give our show's Twitter account a follow at LO_Penguins. You can find us on Instagram at LockedOn_Penguins and TikTok at LockedOnPenguins. Of course, as always, we appreciate you making us part of your daily routine. Don't forget that we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. And if you're following us on YouTube, which you should be, make sure you've hit that notification button so you can be among the first to know when we drop our daily Monday through Friday episodes. We begin today's episode with a little bit of kind of not really breaking news, but Penguins goaltender Artur Sheilovs has officially been named to Team Latvia for the Olympics. Yeah, it's not news. He was part of the first six, but it was officially official this morning. So congratulations to Artur Sheilovs for representing Latvia at the upcoming Winter Olympics. And that is a good place for us to start with the theme of today's show, which is the midterm grades. So let's start with Artur Sheilovs. He has started 19 games for the Pittsburgh Penguins this season, 8-5-6 record, .886 save percentage, and a 3.24 goals against average. It's really difficult for me, Hunter, to grade Sheilovs because I did kind of talk about this on the Monday episode of the show. He's in a weird spot as the Penguins goaltender because you look at his numbers, you look at his record, and you think he's maybe not that good. And I do think there is some validity to that. But then you put in the context of he was in the net for a lot of games where this team just did not play well. And while, yes, you are allowed to make a save, he hasn't been getting a ton of help. You've seen some spurts where you maybe see a starting goaltender in there, and then you see some spurts where maybe he's a 1B. So that for me is a difficult grade to hand out. So if I had to put a letter on it, C, B- ceiling, he's been fine.
Yeah, that's kind of where I land as well. B- to C+ to a regular C. I really liked his month of October. He had a .919 save percentage. He started off really strong, but since then, Pat, it's just been a lot of very middling results. He finished November with an .869 save percentage. Got to put on my glasses here for just a couple of seconds to make sure I get this right. He finished December with an .866 and then an .865 so far in the month of January. The more concerning thing is, though, Pat, he hasn't had a save percentage in a game over 900 since December 9th against the Ducks. He was .929 in that game. All of his other starts since then, he's been under 900. It's kind of what I said on Monday, where I just want to see more consistency in his game. Yeah, he made some good saves down the stretch in that game against Columbus, and I praised him for that. But I think he still has to be better at the start of games as well. He still finished that game on Sunday below water and goals stayed above expected. So I still want to see more out of him. I think if you put the whole first half together, it's kind of just been average. If you want to argue a little below average, sure. But again, B- to the C range, I think is totally fair. If I had to lean towards one or the other, Pat, I'd probably go towards just a full-on C.
That's kind of where I am as well. It's a bit of a more complex case because, yeah, he hasn't been phenomenal, but he also hasn't received a lot of help. So it's a difficult player to really judge up to this point. So let's keep it with the goaltenders. Stuart Skinner, only been here for a little while after the Tristan Jarry trade. You look at his numbers so far with the Penguins, they've been okay. He has started 5 games, 2-3-0 record, 874 save percentage, 2.87 goals against average. Very similar in my estimation to Artur Sheilovs, where he's had some moments where he's come up with some big saves. He's had some moments where he's let in some clunkers. He's also been between the pipes when this team hasn't been at its best. So it's really hard, again, to judge him. So I think he's right in that same category as Sheilovs, B-, C, where you want to see more from him, but you also can give him a bit of a pass because he's been in the net for some performances where the team in front of him just isn't bringing it.
Right. I mean, you look at the Toronto game, Pat. I mean, they were just so horrendous in front of him defensively that I really couldn't pin a lot of those goals on him. His last 2 starts, though, have been awesome. 964 against Carolina, 917 against Detroit. He's been really good in both those games. The Montreal game, obviously that was bad. He plays against his former team in the first one. Had a couple goals there that I think he would want back. If I had to give it a letter grade, even though it's still a little unfair just because he's only played in 5 games, I'd go B-. I'd go a little bit above Sheilovs, but again, I don't want to try to overreact to small sample sizes or something like that. But especially the last 2 starts, I have been impressed. I think he is outplaying Sheilovs right now, which is at least good. I like how he's playing, especially with his last 2 starts.
Yeah, I think the potential is there. I don't think he's obviously going to be part of the team's long-term plans, but at the very least, swapping him and Jarry kind of keeps you in the same position and gives you better salary cap and contract flexibility. So that's a really good piece of business by Kyle Dubas, who we will get to later in the show. We're obviously not going to go through the entire roster here. You guys don't have 2 hours for us to put grades on just about every player. So we're just going to hit a couple really quickly before we head to break. Let's start, and we'll keep the focus kind of on the newcomers or the young guys and things like that. We obviously know 87 having a really good year again, 71 before he got hurt, having a really good year. We have spoken at length about the struggles of Chris Letang. We don't really need to keep going over those. Erik Karlsson, obviously having a big year, but there is one player that I gotta talk about because it's my boy. It's my guy. It is Justin Brazeau. 27 games, 12 goals, 8 assists, 20 points. This just looks like an absolute gem of a find by Kyle Dubas. He has flashed skill. He has been physical. He's putting the puck in the net. He's got great chemistry on that second line with Mantha as well as Malkin when he's been in the lineup. He gets an A, like without a doubt. He gets an A grade at the midterm.
That's the easiest A grade you could probably give out to the non-core guys, honestly, that have played really well, like Sid, like Gino. I mean, he's not a full core guy, but Erik Karlsson, as you said, he's been great. And I just wrote about him today for the Hockey News with how confident he's being. But yeah, Brazeau very much looks like a late bloomer with the way that he's playing. Has such soft hands. I still can't believe how silky he is with a puck on his stick. He continues to play so well on that second line, and it looks like he's going to be getting his center back here really shortly. Evgeny Malkin, full participant during Tuesday's practice. It was more of an optional practice today, Pat. I think you're going to see the full practice on Wednesday, and assuming he's there, I think there is a very good shot that Evgeny Malkin is back on Thursday, which will be great news also for Brazeau and Anthony Mantha, who I want to touch on here too. A+ for me. Kyle Dubas, I think, had a really nice free agency this past summer. More on him a little bit later on in the show. Anthony Mantha, 14 goals, 29 points in 41 games. Pat, he is on pace for 28 goals in this full 82-game season. He is more than likely going to be at over 20 goals right around the trade deadline. Kyle Dubas I know he's going to get calls on him. The question is, will he move him? I think he's going to get some good offers for him, especially for a player that can produce up and down the lineup. It'll just come down to whether or not Dubas wants to move him, just also depending on where the team is in the race. So I think he's going to make a couple moves around the deadline. I don't think he's going to sell everyone off, just considering where the team is right now, but he is definitely going to get calls on Anthony Mantha. But the way that he has played at 5-on-5, the way that he has also played on the power play as a net front presence, even though there have been a couple of times where I've wanted Ben Kindle kind of in his place, he has still been awesome this year and A-plus signing for me over the offseason. I can say the same thing for Parker Wotherspoon as well. He's been really good on the top pair. Yes, on a true cup contender, you probably don't want him on your top pair. You would have him as a second pair guy. If he's your third pair, you have a really deep defensive group, but definitely a second pair guy. But he has still been a great fit next to Erik Karlsson. So I'll give him an A as well. But I really wanted to focus on Mantha.
I'm going to agree on the A for Parker Wotherspoon because that's another diamond in the rough, much like Justin Brazeau. We didn't think a ton of it when it happened, and now he has become a key contributor to the team, and his performance has reflected that. I'm going to disagree, but in a different way with Mantha. I'm going to kind of give him a B on the season for his performance because it's been streaky. He's been a little streaky here and there. He'll put up a few goals and then go cold for a little bit. In no world am I saying he's bad. In no world am I saying he hasn't lived up to expectations. He absolutely has. I will give the signing an A because it's worked out way, way better than they probably could have hoped. So there's a little bit of a tension there for me, but it's not a deep disagreement. I'm not saying, oh no, you're out of your mind here. Mantha's been terrible. It's just he's been a little too streaky for my liking. I didn't expect him to light it up and be a first line goal scoring winger, but just a little more consistency would be nice. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to complain about the guy who's got 14 goals in 41 games and is third on the team in goals. Like that's a champagne problem if there ever was one.
Right. I also think a lot of like those types of players, Pat, they can be streaky. Like you see these types of forwards go on these streaks on a whole bunch of different teams. So I wouldn't really hold it that much against him. Just when you look at the overall body of work, I still think for me it's an A, but I get what you're saying. I push back a little bit. That's all.
One last player that we got to get to because we're just having fun with the midterm grades. Because at this point, I think our listeners and the fans know who's done really well, who hasn't done very well. What more can we say about rookie Ben Kindle?
Yeah.
A+, absolute A+. Yeah. The numbers, they aren't fantastic. 38 games, 8 goals, 10 assists, 18 points. And somehow he's a -11, which I would have never guessed that, but exceeded any and all expectations. We said it in the lead up to the season that this was going to be an NHL player. We didn't think it was going to be an NHL player this year, and we didn't think that he would have a prominent role right away. But there he is as a staple as the third line center. And if Dan Muse is smart, he never leaves that position for the rest of the year.
Oh, I agree. And you can old takes expose us for a lot of our preseason takes about whether he was going to make the team, going back to junior, all that. You can go find them, send them into our DMs and stuff because, yeah, we definitely got that wrong. We didn't expect him to make the team, much less, do this. And I know what you said about the production. Honestly, Pat, I think for someone who is 18, was picked outside the top 10, this is totally fine and dandy. And his hockey IQ continues to shine night in, night out. I love his defensive work. He's getting better as the season progresses, which is also a bit nuts because, again, this is the full grind of an 82-game season. He's 18 years old, and he's going out there and kicking a bunch of these veterans' butts night in and night out against these other NHL teams. He is so advanced beyond his years, and it really hasn't mattered who has been on his line this year. He is carrying his line. He's been absolutely fantastic. I still want him to get a little bit more power play time overall, but I am just loving everything that this kid is doing, man.
And even with the -11, the biggest standout to his game is that he's not totally refined and totally completed as a two-way forward, but for an 18-year-old just entering the league, his ability to play a two-way game is so advanced, and he deserves all the credit and all the kudos that he has been getting up to this point. An absolute home run of a pick by the Penguins in the first round. Speaking of picks, speaking of the front office, got to talk about Kyle Dubas, got to talk about Dan Muse and the coaching staff for our midterm grades here on the Tuesday edition of Locked On Penguins. So stick with us. We're going to have that conversation when we come back right after this. Before we do that, though, we've got to tell you about today's first sponsor, and that is Rocket Money. Let's be real, managing your finances can feel overwhelming. Between subscriptions you've forgotten about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes every month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track down every single transaction or hunt down all those annoying hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I like Rocket Money. We do use it here in my house. I know I talk about using a lot of finance apps. It's because I'm not great at math. Never have been, never will be. I'm in my 30s. That ship has sailed completely. And the best part about it for Rocket Money is that, like a typical millennial, I've signed up for plenty of services. You get that free trial, that free week, free month, free few days, and you just forget about it. And all of a sudden, you're paying for a service you don't use. In comes Rocket Money. And the best part of that, I don't have to go to the website. I don't have to call customer service. I can do it right through Rocket Money. They're just like, hey, you're not using this subscription anymore. It's gone. See ya. There's a few bucks saved. It's fantastic. It's helped me grow my savings and get rid of all those annoying free trials I didn't follow up on. So big fan of that with Rocket Money. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/locked on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked on. One more time, rocketmoney.com/locked on. We're back here on the Tuesday edition of Locked On Penguins. I'm Patrick Damp. That's Hunter Hodes. We're doing some midterm grades because 41 games are in the rearview mirror, 41 games in the windshield. We got a long way to go, but at the halfway mark, you got to talk about what's happened. So let's start with the coaching staff. Dear Hunter, I got to give full marks to this coaching staff for one main reason. When this team struggled in December, when they went on that losing streak, when things were looking bleak, it would have been really, really easy for Dan Muse to panic. It would have been really easy for the coaching staff to throw everything in a blender, bench certain guys, call up other guys, make all kinds of big structural changes, and they didn't. They looked at the way they played in October and November and said, you know what? There's a competitive hockey team here. There is a team that can do some winning here. And rather than panic, rather than snap react to a tough stretch, we're going to find our way through this. We're going to keep pushing, and we're going to get back on the other side of this. And that, at the time, it annoyed us. It made us angry. We were calling for all these changes, calling for them to do all this stuff. And here we sit on Tuesday, January 6th. They've won 5 straight. They're looking a lot more like the team they did at the beginning of the year. So full marks to the coaching staff for saying, we're not going to panic. We're not going to freak out. We're going to get through this. We're going to be calm and level-headed about it. And that turned out, at least for now, to be the right strategy.
It was also evident how much this team really needed the Christmas break to just get away from the rink a little bit, get to spend time with their family and friends for a couple of days, and then come back fully refreshed, ready to go. And what do you know, Pat? They've rattled off this winning streak here. They have all of their confidence back, and they're looking like the team that we saw throughout the month of October and a bit into November as well. I am a big fan of this coaching staff. I give them an A for the first half of the season. Dan Muse with the puck support and the puck pressure that this team plays with on a nightly basis, how entertaining they are to watch compared to the last few years of Penguins hockey under Sullivan, where I can't lie, man, it was a bit of a chore to watch this team just doing the same things night in and night out, not really any changes, but I've just really liked what Dan Muse has been able to do. He has the full control over this team. I love what his assistants have done as well. Todd Nelson also gets an A. Second-ranked power play looks even deadlier than it did last year. The puck movement on the power play continues to be exquisite. The emphasis on a net front presence also has been huge, getting to those high danger areas. Todd Nelson has just unlocked even more on the power play. Heck, Erik Karlsson has been better on the power play under Nelson than he was in last 2 years prior on the power play under two different assistant head coaches. So again, I am just a really big fan of what Todd Nelson has done. And also, Mike Stothers, Nick Menino, Rich Kloon, we can keep going down the list here, Pat. I'm just a really big fan also of the penalty kill, 9th in the NHL right now. I do think part of it has to do with Blake Lizotte coming back. But this year, especially in the first half, you've seen Muse's unit combined with Stothers also running the PK, just a lot more aggressive, forcing more clears compared to the last couple of years under Vellucci, where it was just a much more passive penalty kill. So I'm a big fan of this coaching staff. I mean, you also saw it during training camp where you could tell day one, Pat, that this was going to be a completely different training camp than before. It looked like everyone out there was gassed after the first practice. And it was like that throughout all of them. The drills were very intense, very competitive, and you see that during each practice during the regular season as well. So again, this staff has complete control of the team, and they've been doing a fantastic job. So A for me. If you want to get into the front office, we can as well with Kyle Dubas, but I'll just hand this over to you first.
We will get into Kyle Dubas. I just wanted to add one last thing about the coaching staff. You did a really good job there breaking down the X's and O's and the strategy and everything else, and I agree with basically all of it. I think that they have done a tremendous job getting this team to play the way they have been playing through 41 games. But on top of that, this was not going to be an easy job to take, no matter who it was. Because one, yeah, we had the conversations painstakingly for the last year and a half about Mike Sullivan, what they should do with Sullivan if his time was up, so on and so forth. But you have to remember that the core group of this team, Crosby, Malkin, Letang, I'll even put Brian Rust's name in there, they loved Mike Sullivan. They loved and respected Mike Sullivan. So whoever took that job was coming into a really not challenging environment, because it's not like this group has a reputation of killing coaches. They've only had a couple of them throughout their run, but those were massive shoes to fill. And it would have been really easy for the next coach to come in and struggle to break through to these guys. But very clearly, Dan Muse has broken through to these guys. And that is no small task. That is not easy to do. And the fact that he has this team in the hunt and playing really well through 41 games is a testament to him and a testament to his staff. So full marks, A+ for Dan Muse and the coaching staff. Let's go to Kyle Dubas. And I'm tempted to give him an A, because you look at how going into the rest of this season, going into next off season, he's given this franchise options of where to go. He's given this team an opportunity to accelerate their rebuild a little bit, maybe stay on course. Hell, even though we don't want them to do it, the possibility of going into overdrive is also there when you look at the amount of draft capital and cap space that they have. Highly unlikely they do that. But the reason I'm not going to go straight to an A is that there's been a couple moves here and there, whether it's free agency signings, waiver claims, that haven't been great, but he still gets a B+ because we talked about Anthony Mantha. We talked about Justin Brazeau, the drafting of Ben Kindle. Basically, since the Jake Gensel trade, I am confident in saying that Kyle Dubas has done a masterful job of getting this team to a place where they can usher in the next era.
Yes, I do think since then he has been on a heater. He has done a really nice job. I mean, you look at this year's draft class, there's some diamonds in the rough that could potentially be players down the line. We have to see. I mean, Jordan Sharon has really took off this year with the Sioux Greyhounds, 19 goals and 34 points. You have Kale Dock, who was picked later on in the draft for the Hitmen this year. He has 21 goals and 45 points. He's going to go to Penn State next year. And heck, Ryan Miller as well. He has 17 goals and 45 points in 39 games. He's going to go to the University of Denver. We've talked about how Will Horkoff has been at Michigan. He's been great. Bill Zonin has recently come back, Pat, and he's been lighting it up for his team in the queue, at least to start the season. I'm excited to see what he can do in the second half of his season. We've discussed what Ben Kindle has done. So I like a lot of this draft. I like a lot of what he did during free agency, even with some of the trades. You're getting picks to take on Connor Clifton, Matt Dumba. You're not taking them because you think they're really good at hockey or anything. I mean, Dumba's down in the minors. Connor Clifton keeps being scratched. You're taking them because, of the extra assets that you're getting for taking those contracts. So that part of it, I like. Yeah, I know I pushed back a little bit on the Chinakhov trade just because of the price. He scored that really nice goal over the weekend. If he keeps doing that, I'm just going to shut the hell up about that trade. I understood why he made it, though. It wasn't like some fleecing or anything like that. I wasn't hating on the trade like that. But overall, over the last year or so, or even dating back a bit further, I have really liked his work. But I would say, yeah, B++, something like that. The biggest thing is, Pat, his job is not even close to done. He is going to be fully judged on whether he brings this team back to contention. He's doing a really good job so far, but how does he do with this next step? They're starting to mobilize a little bit. If they have a big offseason this year, especially via the trade market, how does he do there? Can he get this team back to being a true contender? That is where he is going to be really judged, and his overall tenure is really going to be judged, honestly.
You're absolutely right. And one other move that I want to add in, because it is a bit of breaking news, even though we kind of saw it coming, was the Egor Zamula move, the trade with the Flyers with Tomasino and Zamula. It's very clear now that they're putting him on waivers for contract termination. He's not going to be a Penguin. He's not going to go to Wilkes-Barre. I'm not doing the whole state TV, everything is fine, nobody look here, but it is a bit of a savvy move in the sense that it does feel like Dubas and the Penguins understood that he wasn't going to go to Wilkes-Barre. They were probably going to get to terminate his contract. So they free up some cap space, and they get an extra contract slot now. So in a way, you knew that Tomasino wasn't working out anymore. He wasn't going to have a future here. You trade him away to give him another opportunity in another organization. And in return, you get some cap space, you get a contract slot. Now, on the other side of that, what do you do with it? So that's why it's a little bit of not a bad move, but we got to see what the next step is.
The situation now is just a bit weird. Like, yeah, he gets traded here. The Penguins send him to Wilkes-Barre. And was like, no, I'm not going to Wilkes-Barre. And they're just like, well, all right, well, we're just going to terminate your contract, then you can go find other NHL opportunities elsewhere. I don't know if he thinks he's too good for Wilkes-Barre. I don't know. Simply just odd is the way to say it. And also, Harrison Brunek, according to Josh Yowie, is en route to Pittsburgh, so a decision should be coming soon. If I had to guess, Pat, and this is a guess, I think he might be going back to Kamloops in the WHL, but I could be totally wrong on that front.
Hey, we have been threatening that the young players who might have to go back to junior are going to go back to junior all season long, and we've been wrong every single time. So we'll see what happens with Harrison Brunek, but that is going to do it here for our middle segment. When we come back, you may recall that in the preseason every year, Hunter and I do some bold predictions, and with 41 games in the rearview mirror, how are we looking on those bold predictions? We'll check that out when we come back right after this. Welcome back to the Tuesday edition of Locked On Penguins. I'm Patrick Damp, running right alongside my good pal Hunter Hodes. And let's revisit really quickly to close the show our preseason bold predictions. Now, there was one that I had that is incomplete because we haven't gotten to that point of the calendar, so we can't say if it's right or wrong yet. And that was that Evgeny Malkin will sign a 1-year extension after the Olympics. You may not know, but I'm sure you do. The Olympics have not happened yet, so can't really make a judgment call on that one. I'm not Doc Brown. I don't have a DeLorean that can travel through time, so I don't know what happened. But that one's incomplete. Hunter Hodes, on the other hand, this man may have a crystal ball because his two bold predictions, they are very much on pace to get to being correct. His first one, 70 plus points for Erik Karlsson on the season through 41 games. He's on pace for 62. So getting close. And with the way Karlsson has played this season, I don't think 62 is the ceiling. I think he very much could hit 70 plus.
Oh, I agree. I think he is in line for hopefully a really big second half. I'm really close on this one. Again, 31 points so far, 28 of those are assists. He's coming off, I think, his best performance of the season on Sunday in Columbus, arguably his best performance of his Penguins tenure thus far. I say he still does it. I'm not backing away now. I think he's going to hit 70 points. My other one, Pat, Tommy Novak, 20 plus goals. He is at 8 at the halfway point. So just under halfway there, assuming he doesn't get moved or anything like that. I still say I think he does it. I'm almost halfway there for both of these.
The way Tommy Novak's been playing as of late, I could absolutely see it. He seems like he's getting better in picking up the pace as the season continues. So I could definitely see, if nothing else, hitting 20 even could definitely be in the cards. If he exceeds it, I would be kind of shocked, but getting to that 20 goal mark, I think, is right in his grasp. Well, if Hunter was correct on 2, there is one that go ahead and hit that Family Feud X buzzer, because I was wrong on one of these when I said the first player traded off the roster won't be Rust, Raquel, or Karlsson. It was going to be Blake Lizotte. Wrong. And shame on me for 6 weeks, because I have always liked Blake Lizotte's game, and that was the basis of this bold prediction, was that I looked at him as a player who had an easily movable contract and was going to have a ton of value for a contending team. Well, not only are the Penguins getting a ton of value out of Blake Lizotte as the fourth line center, they're right in the race. And I said it already this week. You got the chance to move Blake Lizotte and you're staying in the race up to the trade deadline, don't. Because if it stands in line with what I said a week ago, I don't want if this team stays in the race up to the trade deadline, you have to reward the team for doing that. It doesn't mean that you have to go swing a big move. It doesn't mean you have to move a bunch of stuff to bring in a ringer, but you don't want to say, hey, congratulations on making it to the trade deadline in playoff position. Now we're stripping everything away. You got to reward the team by keeping some of the players around. And if I'm Dubas, again, unless it is an offer you can't refuse, he should be a Penguin through the end of the season.
I hear you. I am curious to see if he does keep that entire fourth line intact through the trade deadline, because look back, Noel Acciari, free agent at the end of the year. Blake Lizotte, same thing. Connor Dewar, he's also on a 1-year contract as well. So I think Dubas is going to get calls on all three of them. It'll just be up to him on what he decides to do, because you're right, that fourth line has been cooking as of late, but is he going to keep all of them through the deadline? I wouldn't be surprised if one of them gets moved, maybe two. I know some people don't want to hear it just because of how well that fourth line is playing, and you and I have been really shouting them out. But, you know, as you said, if maybe there's an offer that he can't refuse for one of those three, two of those three, he could potentially pull the trigger there just because of, you know, where the team still is in this rebuild / retool on the fly. But yeah, Lizotte has been absolutely fantastic. You and I keep saying that on every show. I think there was another one that you had as well, right?
Yes, I had two others. One is incomplete because we still got to get through the rest of the season. The Penguins won't be mathematically eliminated from the playoffs until the final 2 weeks.
You got that one.
They're in it, and we'll see what happens the rest of the way. But that is kind of where I've stood on this team overall, is that I really thought that they were going to be better than expected. I didn't think that they were going to be good, but I thought better than expected. And here we are, 41 games, and what do you know? Better than expected. The other one, my final one, very much like your projections, I'm getting real close. Sidney Crosby will eclipse 100 points. He's on pace for 94 through 41 games. But much like I said about Tommy Novak, you look at the way he's played the last couple weeks, and he's starting to really ramp up again. And while I'm still a little skeptical now that he's going to eclipse 100 points, 100 points, it's right in his grasp, man.
I mean, he's on a 40-plus goal pace for this season. Actually, it's a 48 goal pace right now. If the assists keep coming and he keeps scoring at the pace that he has been, why not for 100 points this year, my friend?
But it's just incredible to watch the way he is still able to do what he is able to do. So I'm just still marveling at it. Whether I'm right or I'm wrong on that prediction, he has still just been absolutely top tier like he always has been. But that is us revisiting our bold predictions from the preseason at the halfway mark. And that is our midterm grades for some players in the front office on the Tuesday edition of Locked On Penguins. So that's going to do it for us. But don't worry, we're not going anywhere, even with the Penguins on a little bit of a break here. We are going to be back with a new episode for you on Wednesday. We got some calls in to some friends of the show, so hopefully we can bring them on to do a little bit of a state of the Penguins at the halfway mark, so keep an eye out for that. But for now, for Hunter Hodes, I am Patrick Damp. Thank you as always for tuning in, and we will be back on Wednesday.